decided to focus on the significant event of Thursday as recorded by their relevant. Consequently, I have changed my thoughts for today. Coincidence that we are gathered here to see divine intervention before we begin our discussions and deliberations with our motions and resolutions in the interest of the people of St. James. Your Constitution, interjected with regulations from Robert's Rules and Order, could be enhanced by your personal reflections on the Word of God. A new pastor was visiting the homes in his community. At one house, it seemed obvious that somebody was there, but nobody responded to his repeated knocks on the door. Therefore, he took out a business card and wrote Revelation 3, verse 20 in the back and stuck it under the door. The next day or the next week, when the offering was over, he found that his card had returned, and added to it was a cryptic message, Genesis 3:10. Reaching for his Bible, the minister looked up the references and broke out into a gale of laughter. Revelation 3:20 begins, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." Genesis 3:10 reads, "I heard your voice in the garden, but was afraid, for I was naked." If that sounds funny, then two counselors decided that they were going into a business venture. They weren't properly acquainted with each other. Obviously, they were from two different councils. So they decided to meet somewhere for dinner, had discussions, become more acquainted with each other, and prepare for this business partnership. They were being served at the restaurant when suddenly one of the counselors said, "Oh," his friend said, "What's the problem, man?" He said, "Boy, I have forgotten my denture." His friend said, "No problem, man." So he reached down into one of his pockets, took out a denture and said, "Try this." It didn't fit, so he took it back, went into another pocket, came up with another one, and said, "Try this." According to the story, the denture fit as though it was his very own. And they had dinner and thoroughly enjoyed the dinner. But you know, he couldn't help wondering how it was that on an occasion like that, someone was able to help somebody else. And he kept wondering, well, this must be a dentist. And he obviously is a very good person to go into a business partnership with. So after the dinner, for argument's sake, he said to him, he said, "Man, tell me something. Are you a dentist?" He said, "No, I am an undertaker." You can draw your conclusions to that. My brief presentation this morning is called The Power of Encouragement. The Power of Encouragement. I refer you to 2 Kings chapter 5 and verse 13. That's 2 Kings chapter 5 and verse 13. And his servant came near and spake unto him and said, My father, if the prophet had bid thee to do some great thing, thou have done it. How much rather then, when he said to thee, Wash and be clean? You know, this is an extract from the story of Naaman's refusal to take the prophet Elisha's encouragement to go and dip in the river Jordan to be cleansed of his leprosy. But it is the story of what happened when he acceded to that encouragement. Out of interest, I decided to refer to another translation of the Bible to see what this very verse was saying. And I looked at a translation called the Message translation. And this verse in that translation said, But his servants caught up with him and said, Father, if the prophet had asked you to do something hard and heroic, wouldn't you have done it? So why not the simple wash and be clean? Now, Naaman had the expertise and qualification that any king, president, prime minister, or emperor would find resourceful in defense of their country. 2 Kings 5 and verse 1 states all the accolades and achievements with one conjunction, but he was a leper. This deterrent prevented Naaman from receiving all the awards that he could be the recipient of. The story, in short, is when Naaman accepted the encouragement to dip in Jordan, great reward came to him. He was healed of his leprosy. The power of encouragement. Encouragement is the action of giving someone support, confidence, and hope. When you praise a child and encourage him to keep trying, this is an example of encouragement. Encouragement is an expression of support, of approval, or its words of action that assist or inspire someone or something. In 2 Chronicles 32, a battle was pending between the Assyrians and Jerusalem. King Hezekiah appointed military officers over the people, gathered them to him in the square at the city gate, and spoke encouragingly to them, saying, Be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be dismayed because of the king of Assyria, nor because of all the horde that he has with him. For the one who is with us is greater than the one with them. Someone wrote to ask What were some of the secrets of an encouraged life? Just then he found the answer in the fittings and settings of the room. Those were. The fan said, "Be cool." The roof said, "Aim high." The window said, "See the world." The clock said, "Everything is present." The pillar said, "Act before you act." The calendar said, "Be up to date." The door said, "Push for an goal or an answer." And the carpet said, "Remember to kneel down and pray." An anonymous author wrote, "Watch your thoughts, for they become words. Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your action, for they become habits. And watch your habits, for they become character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny." Now, having said this, we perhaps could take a second and reflect on what Christ, the great encourager, was to people, or is to people. To the artist, he is beautiful and altogether lovely. To the architect, he is a chief cornerstone. To the astronomer, he is the son of righteousness. To the baker, he is the bread of life. To the builder, he is the sure foundation. To the banker, he is the interest on investment. To the carpenter, he is the door of life. To the doctor, he is a great physician. To the educator, he is a great teacher. To the engineer, he is a new and living way. To the farmer, he is the Lord of the harvest. To the florist, he is the rose of Sharon. To geologists, he is the rock of ages. To the judge, he is the conclusion of all matters. To the jury, he is a faithful and true witness. To the jailer, he is a pearl of great price. To the lawyer, he is counselor and true advocate. To the politician, he is hope, he is victory. To the philosopher, he is the wisdom of God. To the preacher, he is the anointing of the Spirit. To the chorister, he is the living stone. To the hopeless, he is the deliverer from God's wrath. To the servant, he is a good master. To the student, he is the incarnate truth. To the geologist, he is the author of our faith. To the weary, he is the giver of eternal life. And to the non-believer, he is the Lamb of God. From these we can conclude without resolutions that he is everything to everybody, everywhere, every time, and every way. He is God, he is faithful, and I am his, and he is mine. We probably could conclude this devotional thought by saying, offering encouragement is much more than saying a few nice words. It is a gift that can literally transform people and circumstances. When you encourage someone, you are imparting to them the ability to face their challenge, risk, pain, etc., without being crippled by fear. You are infusing their heart with the courage to move forward. What an amazing privilege and responsibility this is. God gives encouragers the ability to see when people are weighed down by a burden they were not meant to carry. They are able to speak truth in a way that brings life and strength to the process of growing in the Lord. I came across a very short piece of poetry. It said, to increase your inner progress, what is needed is constructive encouragement and not deceptive criticisms. We focus briefly on the power of encouragement. And all of us, in whatever sphere of life we are, we do need encouragement in our work, in our communication with people, in pursuing our task. Encouragement is a primary factor. And as we seek to enhance our responsibilities and pursue our objectives, if we try our best in encouraging somebody, our colleague, the people with whom we work, then sure enough, we are in the process of accomplishing that which we would want to accomplish. I want to thank you for participating, for listening, and I want to encourage you to bow your heads with me as we ask God's divine intervention and blessings upon us. Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for your mercies. We thank you for everything. You are God, and there is none other like you. As we meet on this occasion to do that which we have met to do, we know there are going to be challenges, but we are totally and absolutely dependent upon you. We crave your help, your strength, your blessings, and your mercies. Give us directions that are necessary. Help us to be encouraging to each other, understanding the relevance and importance of the strength and effectiveness of encouragement. Be with us, we pray. There are many who are hurting, and we know that. But Lord, a word of inspiration, a word of encouragement, a word that can be utilized effectively can be of such great help as we do that which we would want to do. Thank you for another meeting. Bless us today as we pursue our task. Today we give glory, praise, and honor, and we ask all your mercies through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. My brothers and my sisters, I hope something that was said makes sense. This is the present station. Thank you.
After three, one. Facing the flag. Yes, right, good. Yes, right. After three, one, two, three.
To our leaders, great defenders,
Thank you very much, Reverend here, for taking time out of your busy schedule, sir, to administer devotion to us at the St. James Municipal Corporation, sir. We are very thankful, and your words of wisdom, as is stated, and your words of encouragement, indeed, can transform people. And in transforming people, when give encouragement, you support, give confidence, and you give hope. And those of us who are in position of leadership can take from your presentation this morning that a great part of our function is to give support, give confidence, and give hope to the people who we rightfully serve. So once again, sir, thank you very much, and you may go now, okay? Thank you very much. Good, good, good. Can I now have a notice convening the monthly meeting of the St. James Municipal Corporation? Thank you. Let me take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Gerald Lee, Chief Executive Officer, and is supporting heads of department. Let me also use this opportunity to welcome Mr. Wallace and his team from the Public Health Department. Mr. Rodolph Seaton from the St. James Fire Brigade, Mr. Mark Jones from the National Solid Waste Management Authority. To the councillors who are here, let me welcome you to this another of our monthly meeting. Members of the media, members of the public who are in the gallery, a very good morning to you all again. It is now April. We are now in the 4th month of the year 2019. And today we are hoping to get through with our meeting in a very timely manner. So let me inquire, Mr. Lee, is there any apologies for absence?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to apologize for Mr. Bryce Grant.
Not here.
He is unable to be here today, attending some other business of the council. So he will be represented by Assistant Soup, Mr. O'Neill Gordon.
Any other apologies? Councillors, and this is for you. It would be remiss of me not to take some time to make this observation, because the next item on the agenda would be a presentation by Ms. Chanel Shakespeare, Parish Field Officer, Youth Service Division, Arthur Sentier. But by virtue of councillors not being here on time, and I'm going to say it publicly, councillors, you have to do better. You have to do better. The sitting of the regular monthly meeting of the St. James Municipal Corporation commences at 10 a.m. And at 10:45, we were struggling to get a quorum. And it should not be so. This is a monthly meeting that the time, the bylaw states that it commences at 10 a.m. And we are struggling. And let me tell you, I'm getting very frustrated. Because I think we can do much, much better. So councillors, sorry that I have to make it public, but it is the way it is. Because this presentation would have meant a lot to us as councillors. We're hoping that we can get her to come back here at some other time to give her presentation. So we have to do much better than what we are now doing. It is not good governance, and it is not good public affairs when we have to be starting our meetings. It's now 11:15. We should be way down the wicket as it relates to our agenda. So I'm asking you to do much better than what you are now doing. Thank you very much. You want to come in, Councillor Chu?
Yes, Your Worship. I also want to comment. Mr. Mayor, I prefer you to call me. Because when you said some, when you said council, you take a broad brush and paint all of us. I am here at time of 10 o'clock. So, in the future, Your Worship, call name. Because when you take a broad brush, it's going to go to the media and say, councillors of the St. James Parish Council. So, in the future, sir, call names.
Councillor Chu, I...
That's right.
Yes. Can I now have a motion to accept the meetings of the regular? Second. Who is that seconding? Councillor Thomas?
He was late.
And let me say it. I don't think this is a matter that we should be, laughing about. But let us use it as going forward. We have to do much better. Matters arising from the minutes of the regular monthly meeting. Can we now turn to page 634? Today, we don't have the superintendent. Neither do we have the deputy superintendent. But this is when an assistant becomes necessary. We now have Assistant Superintendent Gordon. And there are a number of things here, sir. The superintendent told me that he had equipped you with all the answers. So we have the cleaning of South Gully, the cleaning of North Gully, the roads within the parish. So if you could just report on those 3 items, Mr. Gordon.
National Works Agency Parish Manager, Mr. David Clark, had informed that a team from Kingston will be in the parish within the next week, to carry out an analysis of the drug line equipment and to carry out repair work on the equipment thereafter. Mr. David Clark, Parish Manager for St. John's NAA, had indicated that a team from Kingston will be in the parish within the next week to carry out an analysis on the drug line equipment and to effect repair works thereafter. However, the gully is in fair condition. As for North Gully, the lower section of this gully
we continue to clean. The lower section of this gully is now being cleaned and maintained as the contractual arrangements were made. Roads within the parish. Under the PRF roads, local road maintenance program, Churchill Crescent in flankers was prepared and a section was paved. That's asphalted concrete. The remaining section will be completed soon. Also, rehabilitation work has started on Wingis Road in Catadupa Division. Some patching work was also carried out on Shortwood Road. We recently received funding for St. James Central from MP Eli Clark. This is to rehabilitate drainage system along Green Pond Main Road and at Cornwall Courts. I have also your report from CDF. I also have your report from NWA on active projects within the Western region. Irie Lane is now 90% complete. The ending date of this project is scheduled for June 30 of this year. Belmont Road is now 100% completed. Blue Hole Road, 50% complete. Middle Street Norwood, 100% complete. Also, construction of a U-drain at Chatham St. James, 100% complete. And cleaning of drains at Barnet Oval, 100% completed as well. Yes.
Now, question to anything on that?
No.
How about the bridge on Howard? Have you got any update on that? The one that has been reported on it?
I have no new update on this matter, Mr. Chairman.
On the, all right, well, what I can report from the area manager, Mr. Francis, is that a double Bailey bridge will be installed in short order to have that bridge that is now there. Yes, Mr. Thomas, that bridge at the bottom of North Gully, that side going east, you know that bridge have some major problems there. Right, they have to take that bridge out to have it repaired. But in the meantime, what they will be doing to have a free traffic flow is to put in a double Bailey bridge. They were going to be using a single, but they realized that that would not help the traffic congestion along Howard Cook. So they will be using a double Bailey bridge, and that should be in on or before the end of this month. So it is a work in progress, and that was the update that I got from Mr. Francis, the area manager from regional manager from NWA. So that's an update that I can give to this meeting. It was yesterday that I spoke to him about it. Anything on the Long Hill roadway, Mr. Gordon? I know the bollards were installed. The overhang was supposed to have been done. I haven't seen that as yet. Can you?
Overhanging work will be carried out shortly.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any question for Mr. Gordon? Councillors, there be no question? Yes. Oh.
Pertaining to the work about Sierra pertaining to the drain that was mentioned. Samir? Yeah. I want to commend the work that was done there. I had spoken to the Member of Parliament. After that was done, what is existing there is that the shores, the side of it, where some houses built along the shore, they becomes vulnerable. Of course, it wanted to be clean because it was desperately in need of cleaning. But I don't know if the Member of Parliament will do anything or if the council can do anything. As I said before, I spoke with the Member of Parliament, and he really wants to do something there, but funds and all of that. So if the council can take a look on it and see if there's any of the council can do along with the Member of Parliament to make it happen, I'm sure it will help, because the people, the houses there, they are left vulnerable, as I said before, and we really need to take a serious and a quick look on it to see what can be done in a combined effort between us and the Member of Parliament. It's actually in this councillor.
Can you take notes of that?
I forget your name, man.
Yes, your comments is noted, Councillor Reid. Councillor Wint?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. I know that NAA don't really come at this meeting, and meeting of infrastructure don't send a representative for the longest while. But there's a road project between Point and Flamstead that they rehabilitated that roadway. And going up to Garlands, there is an issue up there where residents are complaining that the water from off the main road run over into a property, and the water circles over there. And we reached out to one, Mr. Cottrell, that was the project manager from NAA, and they said that they would address the situation. But now that the contract is closed, they are not yet been in touch with the persons there, and now the contract is closed. They are telling that the contract is closed and they can't do anything about it anymore. And now the breeding of mosquitoes and so on in this area get very serious. And would like even something from the council to even send to NAA to have the situation addressed.
Mr. Lee, I would recommend that we have a joint tour of that area, because you see, when these works are done, you know, and the problems that flows from these works, it comes right back to us at the local authority. So I'm saying that a tour of that area, I'm recommending that a tour be done between the National Works Agency and the Municipal Corporation. And that is to be done as soon as possible, or I can say by the 24th of this month, we should have a report on that road, because I know when work is done on these roads, there's usually a retention of some funds to correct any problems that might have developed. So resources might very well be there to correct any problem that might arise as a result of the road rehabilitation. So I would like for that to be done, and a report is given to me on or before the 24th of April. Thank you. Request from the Equalization Fund, Mr. Lee. Sir.
I realize that tour is asked to be organized for that year. I wish we could do the same in the Green Pond area that I just mentioned. So we just, one stone kill two birds. If you want to turn it around.
Sometimes it depends on the size of the birds.
I look for hurting, sir. Even I look.
Sally?
Mr. Chairman, we have not received any additional funding from the EQ for this month. We continue to monitor the situation.
Thank you. Solid waste matters. Can I now have a report from solid waste?
Your Worship, councillors, agencies, media, good morning. WPM continues to execute its core functions of sweeping and collection of solid waste in an effort to minimize disease and rodent infestation whilst maintaining aesthetically pleasing communities. For the month of March, we had a symposium by the Civic Center where our mayor for Montego Bay, Councillor Homer Davis, was present with the commercial department staff of the Municipal Corporation and the Public Health Department, who all played an integral role in addressing the rodent-related matter in St. James. The multi-agency approach highlighted in the news media, where we got major coverage to sensitize restaurant owners who contribute to the continued problems with rodents in the parish. Now, to reduce that, we had food safety and pest control matters discussed, proper solid waste disposal practices, the effects of the poor solid waste management on the tourism industry, also discussion of enforcement in the Solid Waste Act of the 2001. In respect of the symposium held, the Enforcement Department was vigilant and has been since on a daily basis visiting restaurant owners to ensuring that they do have a valid contract and the disposal waste practices are adhered to. The restaurant owners has been quite receptive of this program, so we have seen a behavioral change in their solid waste disposal practices. Additionally, a study is being conducted to examine the behavior change, and the findings will be published once the activities has been completed. Sweeping and collection has been ongoing to the authority standard. 40 kilometers has been swept in the parish. Our backlog for March, we had 10 contracted units along with 6 company-owned units working within the parish in the 210 collection points. We had 28% of the 210 collection in backlog, which would have been 59 communities. Bearing in mind that each community is expected to receive once per week collection in keeping with the authority standard. There are deviations to this, whereby some communities, for example, Mount Salem, where collection is done on a daily basis due to the rapid pace in which solid waste is generated in that area. Looking on page 4 at the table chart that we have here, in the first week of March, our total backlog for the month of March was 13 communities, and we had 22 communities in the second week, 14 communities in the third week, 10 communities in the latter part of March. Now, if you look on the table chart below, the graph below, that would show you where backlogs would reduce. We had a higher number of units operational, and there would be more waste going to the landfill. Approximately 10,325 tons of solid waste was removed from the parish of St. James and deposited at the retirement disposal site. Bulky waste removal was done in Catherine Hall, Crawford Street, Mount Salem, Vernon Drive, Water Lane, Barracks Road, Paradise Norwood, White House, and the flanker holding area. Derelict removal, we removed 15 derelicts in the parish of St. James, 3 from Flanker, 4 from Claude Clark, 3 from Flanker, 1 from Claude Clark, 5 from Mount Salem, and 6 from Salt Spring. We continue to eradicate dump sites. Sewell Avenue is the newest one, and where we still do maintenance of the ones that are in place, we plan to eradicate and do a beautification program there. Community engagement, we had a meeting on the 3rd of March in the White House community where residents had requested additional drums. That was delivered the following day. Commendation was given to us for that. That's an area where we visit 3 times per week to clean that White House main. We do engage in community activities with the CDC groups and the WhatsApp group, daily Facebook updates, community meetings, and daily phone calls to address concerns of residents. The retirement disposal site continues covering, it's ongoing, where we eliminate the possibility of arsonists. And in case of spontaneous combustion, provisions are in place to respond the same immediately, so the team continues to exercise high level of vigilance in that regard. While some level of rainfall was experienced during the month of March, efforts were made to ensure that the leachate ponds do not overflow as the ponds were widened as the need arose. A total of 16,439 tons of solid waste was taken to the facility, of which 10,325 came from the parish of St. James. My regional operation manager apologized for not being able to make it to the meeting.
Yes, sir.
So, Mayor, Sir Mayor, thank you, Mayor. Mayor, the only thing I saw in this report that is new, I must commend you for organizing that meeting with the restaurant owners. And the second thing that is new is the color of the report. Apart from that, Mr. Chairman, I was wondering if it's greenish or yellowish, but I think the yellowish. Mr. Mayor, Jamaica beauty is our duty, and that's the matter for National Solid Waste Management. But Chairman, I am not feeling the solid waste in my division. My grandmother said the nearer to church, the further from God. My division is the nearest to the retirement home. Eh? It's a matter of fact, I collect all the garbage from St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, and Chilani. But Mr. Chairman, I keep getting calls daily. Mr. Chairman, I don't know how to say it again. If I quarrel, same thing. But nicely, same thing. I'm not going to start pretty talk now and say action. But Mr. Chairman, solid waste is neglecting my division in Granville. Very serious, but it's true. Neglect. If you drive on Granville Drive, where we have, on the right-hand side going up, where we have person who only have a square house back. So they use the garbage and bring it to the street.
worship, today is Thursday, just Tuesday, the entire road of gutters and retirement was clean. I personally was there with the truck. No, but for an allegation to say solid waste had neglected and has not been there, I was there 2 days ago with the truck. So I would prefer for the statement to say that he would like us to continuously maintain the good work he saw 2 days ago. And I will stand by that, and I'll try my very best to maintain the area.
So, Mr. Chairman, so you want to tell me something, Mr. Chairman? After 4 weeks of neglect, and you come one day and clean, you tell me that you're going to maintain what you did the other day, but 4 weeks, Chairman? No, Mr. Mayor, 4 weeks?
If I was to take your statement, it would appear that nothing hasn't been done in the longest while.
It's true.
Right, no, but what Mr. Jones is saying is that they started some work on Tuesday. So that means they realize that there's a problem. They realize that there's a problem. And you know something? I think our citizens have a responsibility also, right, to at least sometimes cauterize their own garbage. And don't throw every lot of bag as you have it on the road or carry it. Keep it until you know that the truck coming every Tuesday or Wednesday, and you put it on the road. Because see, when you dispose of it in that way, what it does, you know, it becomes a feeding ground for the rodents and the dogs and things like those. So sometimes a little understanding by the citizens is important. Right? You know, the garbage truck come every Wednesday, you don't carry your garbage out from Saturday, Sunday. It is going to create a big problem. So sometimes a little education. But there's no doubt that solid waste from time to time undergoes some trucking problems. I'm only hoping that before the end of this financial year, a commitment that was made by the government becomes a reality as it relates to that 100 new garbage trucks to be brought into the island. And I have every belief that that will be so. But it is a struggle. It is a struggle. But they sometimes operate in a satisfactory manner. And when they don't, the reasons are obvious. The units are down. So let us as leaders sometimes encourage our constituents to say, listen, see if you can cauterize a garbage instead of throwing it on the road. A lot of us inside here do that, meaning we keep our garbage, and if we know the garbage truck is coming every Thursday or Friday, we put it out on the road. We don't put it out because we have a little garbage, because it's just going to mess up the place. So we sometimes need, because I'm sure that you don't dispose of your garbage like that. You put it in a drum, you cover the drum, and when you know the garbage truck coming, you roll it and you put it at your gate. So you don't have the type of, you know, what you see when you drive around. All right? So it sometimes needs some leadership from us. But solid waste probably need to communicate with us as councillors, as the people's representative, when they're not able to clean a particular area this week or next week. They should at least take up the phone, call the council, say, councillor, you're going to get some complaint from X Street or Y Street, but I'm asking you to convey to the citizen that we're having some challenges, but as soon as we, you know, in a position, we'll deal with it. So a lot of it sometimes need communication. And that's from the, for the NSWMA, to communicate more to the councillors or the CDCs when things are not happening. But the councillor more so, because they are the ones that the people call to report.
Mr. Mayor, just a follow-up, Mr. Mayor. Montego Bay is the priority for St. James. You need to make Montego Bay clean every day, because that's a priority. In Granville, that's my town. So Granville is my priority. So if you're driving through Granville to retirement dump, let's not touch up, pick up the garbage along the Granville. So at least when you come in the place, the front part is clean. That's my priority.
All right, Councillor Troop, your concern is noted. Thank you. Mr. Lee, you have something?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I just want to support the point you made about the communication, because we have been getting, the parish council have been getting some complaint about Mango Walk and an area called the Greens. For the past 2 weeks or so, we have been getting complaint from residents. So we were not able to respond. So maybe, like the mayor said, if there's some communication so we can pass some information to the residents,
important.
then it would be good. I don't know if there's the problem has been resolved in this area now, but we got a lot of call last week and the week before.
Just a question, Mr. Jones. Since we have that meeting at the Civic Center, the Cultural Center, have you seen an improvement in the way in which all the restaurant operator dispose of their waste?
We have seen a slight improvement, Your Worship, and it is with the enforcement team going to the various restaurants to make sure they do have a contract with their, how to dispose their waste, or who is going to dispose their waste. Then we are suppressing it, Your Worship, and we have seen a slight decrease in the garbage all over the place, sir.
Okay.
So the study that we are conducting will.
And how is your enforcement going since you have been equipped with a brand new vehicle?
They have been going to what they have been doing is making sure that there is a contract in place.
Oh.
And the stakeout in areas that they have as dumping ground, we have been having stakeout, but we have not had much results from that just yet.
Make a special request to have this mic repaired.
Yeah, please.
Oh, these two. I don't know if it's just us you don't want to hear. When yes, that would be good. But anyway, we have been having the complaints. I mean, Westgate Hills, Mount Salem, different areas, and I saw some communication from the team indicating that you have a issue with your trucks, and as Mr. Lee and the mayor said, more communication is best. Your representative is in most of the community groups, so they should be active, especially when you have the problems. Well, anyway, I listened to your report and your presentation, and especially I want to focus on Mount Salem, right? And you really mentioned that you had to clean Mount Salem once every day. But Mount Salem have 4 communal garbage collection points. It's not at each person gate or anything. It's a communal areas that exist within the community that serves over 5,000 people. So yes, you have to collect it every day to ensure it goes up. But in 3 of the locations, Mr. Chairman, we discussed garbage skips through JSIF, which came down and were diverted, and we discussed regularizing some of the areas to make the NSWMA work much easier, in that currently we have concrete bins that is a labor-intensive cleaning operation. And if we could change those to put in skips, which will come and in 15 minutes or less, they pick them up and move away with them, it will be easier for them, and they will spend less time in these areas. But for whatever reason, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if it's because of the color of my shirt or something, but we and the NSWMA is unable to come to a decisions and to sit down and agree how we are going to build. Which one? You don't like the color of my shirt, Mr. Mayor? I like the color of the shirt. Say that again for the mic.
Political preference there. And you know that this municipality that I led, right, we don't go that way. Your problem is just as any one of us problem. So don't go down. And I think you should apologize for that. It's an inappropriate statement, Councillor.
Mr. Chairman, you lead the municipal corporation. You do not lead the NSWMA.
No.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, but you are
Mr.
putting
Chairman,
politics into it. And,
Mr.
and
Chairman.
Councillor Thomas, I won't continue to entertain your discussion until you withdraw that statement. I'm being very, very, I don't want us to carry the council down into that path. Please, we have been enjoying a very good relationship with all our agencies. Right? Withdraw that statement. It's not necessary.
So I will not mention the color of my shirt anymore, Mr. Mayor.
No.
So I said the color of my shirt, it depends on the color I was wearing on a particular day. So let's not discuss that one, right? On the day. But Mr. Mayor, the concern is,
Point of order, Mr. Chair. I've not heard the apology and he's still
Exactly.
Mr. Chairman, I recognize the members are assuming, and there are a lot of things they take for granted. But let us focus on the discussion about the garbage and the need to keep the communities clean and the need that we need to try to put the skips in place. We put the skips in place and the platform that are necessary, right? And Mr. Jones, I hope we can sit and meet and look at it and see how we work together to get the skips that JSIF wants to have installed in the community, and also to get these areas tidied up and regularized. On your report, you mentioned Mount Salem from I've been here as an illegal dump site along the main road, and that we're going to try and fix it, and we're still having the same discussions. So it's time, Mr. Chairman, and the NSWMA, that we take a serious stance towards it and try to put some solutions in place.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Point of order.
Mr. Chairman, as a councillor, we have a certain responsibility in our division. And if we have a councillor complain about an illegal downside from he has been here for 2 years, and he himself have not seen to do anything about it, I doubt that we can totally put a 100% blame on National Solid Waste.
Mr. Chairman, a point of order. I have never called it an illegal dump site. It is the NSWMA report that calls it an illegal dump site in every report they write. And I'm the one who stand here and say, how can you call it an illegal dump site, but yet you call it from it every day?
And if they weren't collecting? And if they weren't collecting, Councillor Thomas?
So at the end of the day, it comes back to the beginning. We are collectively need to work to serve the people and make the thing in a more aesthetically appearing better place, and also to make it serve the people, Mr. Chairman.
Any further comments? Yes, yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I personally, on the South Spring side, don't really have some of the problems that the other councillors having. And when I have it, I will talk it. But for now, I don't have it, and I must say I don't have it. However, I want to appeal to you to see if you could have a better collaboration between the CDC in, one is in Green Pond, which takes in Birchill, Concord, those areas. One is in Upper Salt Spring. If you could have greater collaboration with those CDCs to help to sensitize, as you do in Montego Bay, because most of the dogs, the goats, the cats, the beds, the fridge, all those things that come down, they come from that area, from my area and Lynch area, down into the south and North Gully. So if you do some of those sensitization there with the people, and even when you're having problem with your truck, you call those CDCs, inform them. So when they call those organizations, we can give them more.
Well, that's what we have been saying,
Yes,
Councillor.
and the mayor mentioned it earlier on, but I had it to say, so I had to say it. All right, thank you.
Even if somebody else have said it. Oh, my word. Report from the police. Doing a report from the police. Is there any comments on the report from the police? Well, what has been happening? What has been happening since the start of this year? And when comparing 2018, same period, same time, we have seen a massive increase, if I'm to look at the percentage, and that was up to, I think, one day this week. At that time, there were 23 murders. There are now 42, which would represent some 80% or more increase. It is a situation that, as a municipality, we have grave concern about the spike in murder rate and also in shootings. But as a municipality, we are not prepared to throw our hands in the air and say there's no hope. I think our security forces are fully aware of who these crime producers are, and in instances they are being pursued. But I would encourage our citizens to be more vigilant. The police has recovered more firearms at this time, more than what they had recovered last year. And so the police are doing their job. The citizens are also cooperating to some extent. But we can't continue having this wanton destruction of lives, which, based on the profile of a number of these persons who have been shot and killed, the police will tell you that there are adverse comments on a number of these persons. That doesn't say for one moment that it is justifiable for them to have lost their lives in that manner. But it is what we're all aware of. The whole question of turf. People are fighting for turf. People are fighting for supremacy. And, you know, I keep asking the question, when will it end and when will it stop? And what is the end result? What do they expect to achieve at the end of this? Well, I'm sure that the government is very aware and will take the necessary steps at some point to make sure that St. James, we don't go back to where we were post-2018. And I have a word of caution to the crime producers, those who think that they can go around at will and destroy their brothers and sometimes their sisters, to take heed and realize that you can run, but you will never run forever. And of such, I would say to those combatants who are out there that it's full time they take a heed and take a look into themselves, because they cannot win this war. They need to get themselves on the side of law and order, and let us see if we can live as one people. Live the Jamaican dream, which there's a dream, because we all know if we work very hard in this country, we can achieve quite a lot to make our lives very comfortable and very happy. It has been proven over and over, where persons from humble beginning, humble circumstances, becomes very prominent people in society. So it's not a case that what we're having here is people who are below the poverty line, who are involved in a number of these activities, because the instrument that they use to commit these crimes can't be bought by anyone who is below the poverty line. It can be used by them, but it can't be bought by those persons below the poverty line. And you have persons who have community influence use some of these young men in the wrong way to commit these atrocious crimes. So I would say to them that, you know, your day will come. Your day will come. But our parish is too precious for us to be allowing all this to be happening. So enough said on that matter. But we must not get back to where we were post 2018. Thank you. PDC report, Ms. Dove, see if you can make it.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, media, and executive members from the parish council. Just to present my report this morning, I'll start off first with the community development areas. Norwood CDC had approached us asking for assistance for Warwick area where they have electricity problems. So we sent a letter off to JPS, and although they said that they won't be able to just go in and put in the light, but if enough citizens are interested and sign up a document and send to them, then they would in turn send an engineer in the area to look at the feasibility of setting up the electricity system in there. So we have sent that back to the CDC for them to work on it and then get the information to the JPS company. In relation to Rose Heights, there was a concern about titles for areas that, you know, you had previous squatting. The Housing Association of Jamaica advised me on Tuesday that they have actually started work on that, and up to about 8 titles have been issued. They will be continuing. There are some persons that had some back payments. They're asking them to come in for them to work with them in terms of solving that problem there. We had a rep that went to the Cambridge CDC DAC meeting Tuesday, and they have actually rescheduled their church service for May 26th instead of, that should have happened 2 weeks ago, but it was rescheduled, and it will be at the Cambridge Gospel Chapel. We were represented at the Tourism Speed Networking session that was held recently at the Convention Center. That area is managed by Mr. Stewart's son. His name just went up my head a while ago. He's in charge of that area. And what they're trying to do is to get more local farmers to produce and for the hotels to buy more from the local farmers. So we had persons who are doing like strawberry in Manchester that came in to show the production and other, you know, things that are imported from overseas. So it was a very good event. We had a lot of persons there, a lot of buyers from different locations that came in with their products. And the hotels across the island came, and they did some very good work there. We had an interagency meeting, that is the local agencies within Montego Bay with the Planning Institute of Jamaica. That was on Tuesday to finalize all the projects and plans that we're going to be doing within the parish for the current financial year. There are 4 communities that they want us to focus on more in Canterbury, Norwood, Flankers, and Salt Spring. So there are some programs that Hart will be bringing in, PMI, PDC, SDC, and some other agencies. So those will be fine-tuned. We did the final work, and they'll be fine-tuned and then rolled out to the different MPs and so on. So the information will filter down. as to everything that we'll be doing in the different locations. We had a stakeholders meeting which was held on the 28th of last month, and we had over 44 CDC's representative there. It was a very good meeting, the largest turnout we have ever had within the PDC. And there are several areas that we discussed. I want to thank the solid waste. I know there was a battering earlier, but they did very well. We had Mr. Edmondson came and he did a presentation, and he was what was very impressive to the CDCs, and they commended him on it. He had a note on every area. So if it's Moe Hill, Mount Horeb, wherever, he was able to respond and to give them a feedback on what was happening and the challenges that they were going through there. We want to commend the donors who are the TPDCO, who he said donated 250 garbage bin to his organization to help with the different areas. And he did mention that to local government, he was getting some small compactors to work in areas like Granville and Mount Salem to help with the garbage collection there. The president of Mount Salem did mention, though, that there are neighboring communities that are throwing garbage over in Mount Salem. So that is something that he'll be investigating to have that result. That was the president of the CDC that mentioned that. We want to thank Mr. Duncan from the Municipal Corporation, who did a very good presentation. They're very happy to have him to speak about the play fields and the schedules and so on. So he was able to clarify a lot of information with regards to that. Also, the CEO of the Municipal Corporation did a presentation, Mr. Lee, who his presentation went very well. It helped to clarify the role of the PDC in the new Local Government Act. And the PDC itself is happy to learn that we are the #1 in the island, the best PDC within the island right now. This came out of what was being said in terms of our performance. We also had presenters from the Restorative Justice, Ministry of Justice, speaking about dealing with conflict resolution within the communities. So they were told how the sessions are done and how they can do the intervention. And they were asked, the community leaders were asked to do the recommendation to the RJ. They are located in Overton, so that they can help with diffuse some of the quarrels before it gets to, killing and stuff like that. The Ministry of Labor came as well to the meeting, did a presentation and on the neglect of senior citizens. So they have actually set up a division that's been there, has some tweak, but what they're doing now is to set up senior citizens group, so we don't have these seniors being neglected within the communities. So they were asking the CDC to partner with them in terms of dealing with that. The SDC was there. They were talking also about what they're doing to help to form groups within across the parish and the things that needed to be done. So that information was passed on. In terms of the PDC, we actually did an overview of where we are when we started almost 2 years ago, and the challenges we had, what we were able to overcome to really make an impact within the parish and the way going forward. One of the things that we're working on right now with the fire department is to have a fire warden program across the entire parish, like a first responder program, so they'll be training not just the basic, but more. So if there's a disaster, then these persons will be able to help with the coordinator from the parish council to help in a lot of different areas. So they've actually put that program in their budget, so they're finalizing the information so we can start. So once we are ready, we send out all the information. We're looking at least 20 persons per community, so we have a wide base. If persons drop out, we still have a good amount working towards the goal that we want to achieve. There's some training program that we're looking at as well that the PIOG has asked us to to team up with Heart and some other of the agencies to work with them on for the upcoming year for the different locations. One of the stories that there are some concerns from the CDC, but I just want to briefly speak about one of the good stories coming out of what we did last year with this young man from one of the communities. I think it was Rose Heights or Farm Heights, that he was a known robber, scammer, thief, everything. The police knew him so well that I remember he coming to us and was talking about, he went down to Lucy and the police from Mobay saw him and just took him to the station and locked him up. And he had to appeal for help. He said the police said he was down there to rob someplace. To tell you he was in and out of jail and everything. When we did the Avasan program, a lot of the counselors and persons, he was one of those who came to us and asked us to get into the program. He did the test, he failed because he had dropped out of school from age 12 and got into all the gangs and everything that wasn't right. And his family, from what he said, was that was what they do. Uncle, everybody, they were in some kind of misconduct. And he kept calling, and eventually, because the pass mark was 70, and he was way down in the 50s. So we discussed it, we contact Avasan head office overseas, and they said, well, if he keeps harassing you so much and calling the Avasan as well, let us give him a chance, because since he had that kind of background, maybe he wants to change. And we got him into the program. It was a struggle for him, but afterward he got to get the work done, and he was successful. But we sent him to one of the hotels first. He didn't stay long. I think they were scared. They put him in the garden because of his past. And then he came back to us. I started helping him to find a job, and then a company, well-known company in Montego Bay, I won't say where, decided to give him a chance, and they employed him last year. He's still there doing pretty well. He has given up that life that he had before and is now engaged to be married. So it's sometimes so I'm helping because the person is going to get married is someone that came out of one of the homes. So I'm helping her sorting out her birth certificate and other things so everything can run smoothly before they get to that point. So I'm just saying that sometimes we have persons in our community that we look down on because they give problems. But if sometimes it's the condition in which they were brought up, like he was bad in school, they sent him home at age 12, the parents just didn't bother with him. So he ended up out on the street. So when you see these youngsters in the community, don't condemn them, give them a chance, because many times just one opportunity is what they need to change their lives. Just show them a different way out of what they have brought up in, and that would help. In terms of several of the communities, they had different concerns that we've passed on, like the ones for solid waste. Mr. Edmondson took those information. There are others in relation to like the NWA, that they had problems, and there's a concern in relation to a clinic that was closed and a post office in Hopetoun CDC complained about this, that they're asking the council whatever they can do to get the clinic and the post office reopened, because it is posing a problem for various communities, Williamsfield, Kemshot, Endeavour, Hopetoun, and Comrose. But overall, it was a very good meeting, and they were very elated, and we're looking forward to doing even more for the community in the coming year that we're ahead of. On a final note, I just got this morning, so it's not even out yet to the board, but our current chairman, you know, he has not been coming for a while to the meeting, because soon after he took over, his company decided to go into a very big expansion mode within Jamaica and also across the Caribbean. So sometimes he was traveling even to 3-4 different Caribbean islands as the head one for everything. So that really hampered his being active. However, in terms of the financials and helping us to clear up the backlog, because when we took over, there were 4 years of backlog, no tax payment, we were totally out of compliance, the PDC. And he worked using his resources at his company and connection to be able to get everything up to date and to get the PDC back legal and in compliant, because as connected to the government, you can't have an entity like that, you know, doing these things, and the government is saying you need to pay your taxes and everything. So he was able to brought us up to date for compliance for to the end of this month, and then we're going to be working with him for the past financial year so that we can get a compliance certificate to 2020. However, because of more work that he has been given, he's not able to continue. So he has tendered his resignation, and we have already advised the SDC about what is happening, because he had indicated that he was going to submit it. So it actually came, I actually got it this morning, which delayed me a bit getting here. So just to mention it, because so it can be documented in the minutes, the SDC now will do the process going forward, because we are looking at an AGM in a couple of months. So just to mention it for everyone to be aware. Thank you.
Arising from that report, is there any comments, questions? They're being done. Local sustainable development.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify one part of Ms. Dotudov's report. Read the land typing for row sites. 6 persons received the land title just over the weekend on Sunday afternoon. We have a list in my possession now that contains 800 personnel for land titles within the row sites area. However, some of the challenges that they are facing is that, you know, the informal settlement is that the perimeter fencing have been drawn by these individual homes. Therefore, the land titles are now, according to the HAJ president, chairman, Mr. Norman Brown, is saying that we have to do some form of survey, right, and give the person the property as is, so the title will have to be rewritten. However, 800 of these titles are actually ready to be issued. The persons from the roadside area just need to come in office at the Albion Road to just work out a little bit of paperwork to get that straight and over with.
Councillor Lynch, that's very ambitious, but there are lots of problems with that one. I was in a meeting Tuesday, and all those lots will have to be resurveyed. I think all of them, based on what has emerged. A man's bedroom is in another man's bathroom. That's what it is. So it's gonna, I mean, the titles, no. We had a discussion at OPM on Tuesday with the new minister, and that was, and it's not only for Rosemount, but other areas across Jamaica, but more so in St. James. Because if they were given a particular piece when it was surveyed original, and that is what those titles were made up of, what you find out is that over a period of time, a man need a little bigger space in bedroom, so he push it over. So you're in the other man's land. So it's a big thing. It's a big problem. Right? It's a big problem. So that's going to take some time. But I guess some of their grandchildren or great-great-grandchildren will inherit. Alga report? Alga J report? Any report, Councillor Vice P?
They have the report was circulated, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Alga report has been circulated. Is there any comments? There be no comment. Can we now look at local public accounts committee report? CEO to provide update. Can you provide an update, Mr. Lee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The LPSC continue to monitor the operations of the council. A meeting was scheduled for the 8th of April. Unfortunately, that meeting fell through because, again, we didn't have the support of the persons quorum. We didn't have a quorum for that meeting. And so It is rescheduled for the 13th of May 2019. That's Monday the 13th of May. That is the time it is rescheduled. And let me just take this opportunity to again impress on the councillors the importance of their attending to these meetings, because some of the times we have the representative from the communities, from the PDCs and the chairman. They are all external to the PDC, and we want the support of the persons, the members of the councils from both sides, so that we can have this meeting convened. Remember, the composition is 3 from the ruling party, 3 from the minority, and 3 from the civil society. That make up the 9 members of the LPAC. So we just want to encourage persons to come to these meetings so that we can continue to monitor the operations of the MC.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. He has indicated how the LPAC is constituted. But for a meeting of the LPAC, you only need a quorum. Quorum is 4. 4. I was on the April 8th meeting, April 8th, the last meeting that was scheduled. I was off the island. And I indicate when I saw the notice, I had conveyed my apologies. At the meeting, I am informed that Councillor McGann and Councillor Vernon were present. So if 2 from the majority are present, and that is always what occurs, that the majority councillors turn up for this sitting of the LPAC. The minority councillors have been the persons absent. The PDC representative, because if 2 were there, along with Mr. Vernon and Mr. McGann, then you could have a meeting. So that means that the PDC chairman was there. That would make 3. Where's the other PDC person? For a long time, I have not seen the PDC other person except for the chairman. So the PDC needs to account. And what I find strange is that you always hear civil society saying this not happening and that not happening and oversight not happening and etc. They can't, in this particular situation, fault anybody, because their representatives, with the exception of the chairman, have not been attending PDC. So I am asking Dr. Dove, either you make the adjustment, appropriate adjustment, so that the person other than the chairman, who always is present and very interested, that the other persons who will make up your 3, that they come. I would ask you, Mr. Chairman, to ask of the minority leader to ensure that the persons who come from the minority, who should be there, that they turn up. Because I noticed something the last time they came there now. They came there in the very early stages of the LPAC. And when a particular topic was on the agenda to come up, all of a sudden, I have a meeting to go to. And one left and then the other one left. And from that day I don't see them come back. And probably it is stated wrongly when it is said minority. I don't even know where this minority and majority business come from in the parish council, in the municipal corporation. Because like parliament where you have over there so and you have over here so. Where you have government sitting on one side and opposition sitting on one side. If you look in any council, because I could be sitting beside, I could have been sitting beside any one of those minority, those councils. Is your party coming with this foolishness about minority and majority? It only came up in 2003 when PNP lost the council. This thing about minority and majority came up. That is separating council and put one side and majority and one side as minority. That notation never came before. So, Mr. Chairman, could you please ask of the minority, as they call themselves?
Isn't that what
they must turn up.
Isn't that what
and participate in the process. Participate in the process. And you know what is good about it? What is good about it is that it is a committee that they can say, since you don't come from my party, let me hold you accountable. No, so for the management of the place. But they're not even using it for their, if there's a political benefit them can get out of it, they're not even using it for that purpose. So I ask you to speak to them too.
Don't educate them. I find the senator's presentation a little disheartening. And the reason why, and he's correct, in the beginning...
So why do you find it disheartening and he's correct? I don't understand.
In the beginning, we attended the meeting. When Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask him how many times he and I sit down and there was nobody to meet with. How many times you and I sit here in this council and there was nobody to meet with, right? So what the truth is about, and Mr. Chairman, how many times we spoke about the LPAC and the attendance? So, Mr. Chairman, you need to make your presentation better and not blame the minority when you and I know that from the PDC has election, I think a year and a half ago, they made some changes to the members who should attend the meeting. As a matter of fact, what we'd love to hear today, Mr. Chairman, is who are the people who make up the committee of the LPAC? All the ones who make up that committee right in here. But Mr. Chairman, you and I sit here many times and there was no meeting because the civil society was not here.
No, after the meeting pass you, because you don't come. Okay. After the meeting pass you.
Councillors, you know, I remember when the LPSC used to be very active. But since they have changed the format, because the LPSC was fashioned off the PAAC, and since they have changed the format, we are struggling to even get meetings. And I said it at that time, that I don't think it is the right way to go. Right? I don't think it is the right way to go. The committee of those who form the majority and those who form the minority should be the persons to inquire. And ever since that time, we have never had a smooth running of the LPSC. And I think that that is something Councillor Cope, as a first vice president of ALGA, I think it is something that we need to take and inquire of the other councils how their LPSC is performing. Because I don't get the impression that they are performing any better. Because there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect. Because civil society, as much as, you know, we hold them up and stuff, they don't want to get involved in certain things. You know? They don't want to get involved in certain things. Right? And I would recommend Councillor Court that you take it up as a subject matter, because it is not serving us well. The purpose of the LPAC is to keep us in line as it relates to our expenditure. And, you know, it is not serving us well. Reports from the St. James Fire Brigade.
Chairman, good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Superintendent Kevin Horton, who was serving in the parish since December 2018. He is no longer with us. He has been promoted to Deputy Commissioner. So he's now at the Brigade Headquarters in Kingston. As is contained in the minutes, speaks to a fire hydrant in the Freeport area near the boathouse that was leaking. That has been repaired, and we are awaiting some material to deal with the other two in Lethe. The Iron Shore fire station is without a functional fire unit at the moment. It is developed some mechanical problems and it is down for repairs. Also, the fireboat, it is currently off action. One of the engines sustained some damage, so it is also down for repairs.
Wow.
We have gotten some interesting news that work will commence on the Barnett Street fire station on the 25th of April 2019. So we are awaiting that. Those are the updates for now, unless there's anything else in the report that...
Councillors, you have heard the fire report. Is there any question? Is there any suggestion? There be none. We'll now move on to local government reform update. Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I like to say that the reform is not a destination, it's a journey, and so we continue to adjust.
You continue on the journey.
We continue on the journey, yeah. Right, and we adjust and address the problems as we go along. So what we are working on now is the new Building Act, and we are having a workshop with the fire department, and that is supposed to be tomorrow, and it will be inside this chamber here, where all the building officers and other staff involved in the process will come, and they're going to be looking at the new Building Act, how it affects their operations. So that will be on for tomorrow. We continue also with the LED program, and of course we're in the process of doing an assessment of what happened for the last financial year, and also that will allow us to make plans going forward to see how we will again implement the program and see how we can better affect the persons who we are trying to reach. So those are the two areas, Mr. Chairman, that we continue to work on. And as usual, we also we're in the process of getting a copy of the new Building Act for all councillors. We have placed the order, we're just waiting for delivery. We should be getting them by next week. I think we should be picking them up today. And so by next week, you'll be getting a copy of the new Building Act so that you can be a part of the process. And we continue, Mr. Chairman, to work in this regard. And those are the updates in regards to local government reform.
Thank you. Any comment? Yes. All right. Buildings within the parish that are public nuisance.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are in the process of demolishing the Vasa building. That was one of the buildings that we had some concern with and was declared imminently dangerous. I'm not sure which one of this verb. But that one is to be removed. We're in the process of doing making the arrangement for the demolition. There are 3 other buildings, or 4, which should be going into the court. The case was called up on February 3. And it was adjourned and set for the for Friday the 3rd of May 2019, at which time a representative from the Municipal Corporation will be in attendance, and at that time we are hoping that they will be able to make a conditional order so that we can take some step to again abate the nuisance where these are concerned.
Mr. Lee,
Yes.
there are a number of buildings here.
Yes.
All right. Let us go through them one. Albion Way, what's the status of that? That's the one that's slated for demolition.
That's it. Okay.
Yes, there are a number of buildings here.
That is the one, Mr. Chairman, that will be demolished.
Right, that's 3 Albion Lane.
Right, 3 Albion
What about
Lane.
8 Art Street?
8 Art Street. Second one. Mr. Chairman, I have a list in the ones that are going in court. The Old Bassville Lane, Luton. Well, it was already set before the committee decided that they would demolish, but then we would still need an order to allow us to recover the costs that will be incurred in demolition. The order will give us the right to sell the building and to recover, sell the property to recover what we would spend to demolish it. Individually, Mr. Chairman, I would require the assistant of the SOUP to give me some specific as to where they are.
But if you read that paragraph, Mr. Lee,
Yes.
below buildings within the parish, which are public nuisance. Haven't we done the resolution to declare all these?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. All of them have already been sent to the
Yes,
to
so
the
what
court.
do we do? You have one down for demolition. So what
Right.
about the other?
The others are, that's what I was saying, there are 5 of them that are set to be adjudicated in the court. All of them were sent to lawyer for them to be taken to the court. I look at the listing that will be going on the 3rd of May, and we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would have to be updated as to when the other will be taken to court. But the intention is for all of them to be declared as public nuisance, and for us to get a conditional order to abate the nuisance and then recover the costs for abating the nuisance. And that is the direction that we are going. That is the action that the committee has approved, and we are now awaiting on the court to adjudicate on all of them so that that action can be taken. Oh, well, there are 2 of them, yeah.
Page 643, water shortage in several areas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 2 of them was actually abated.
Water shortage.
Gentleman, not wrong one.
Have we got any?
We continue to truck water according to the availability of funding. Areas that have received water in the past month: Granville Community, to include Granville Art School, Goodwill Primary, Lottery Primary, Amity Hall, and Irwin Heights.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if what I'm seeing in recent times continues, I think we're going to, because I see a request is made for funding, we're going to actually need it. Commendation to the Water Commission, because they have been sending email to customers. I don't know if it's because I'm a council, I get it. I don't know what capacity I get emails from the Water Commission when there is likelihood of water outage. And I've been getting some notification about water not being available in many communities in St. James. I've never seen that number. historically. But in talking, sometimes you get a notice and identify 20 communities. Sometimes it's published in the newspaper. And when you inquire of the Water Commission, what is the reason? They either tell you it's a mechanical problem or there's a voltage problem through the GPS that is affecting their pumping station. Presently, and Councillor Reed is not here, apparently stepped out, but the Flower Hill community has been without water now going close to 2 months. And I've asked if the representative from the water can come and address about putting in valves that they can control the distribution to different communities, so they can say, okay, 2 days of the week, Flower Hill you will be getting, Salt Spring you will be getting 2 days of the week. That was a commitment made to the community. That has not materialized. You speak to somebody else with Water Commission, you get a different story. And the superintendent has indicated that it is dependent on availability of funds. And the funding that I have left that can facilitate Flower Hill is almost exhausted. I was saying, Councillor Reed, when you're out, Flower Hill still has been without water for about 2 months now. Yes. And well, there you go. Yes. So I need Water Commission to come here and give us a proper address as to what is the situation. Because I don't think it is a situation that can be allowed to just continue. Or if it is going to continue, let us look on what are the alternatives in respect to getting water to the people that live there.
Well taken. I mean, there are serious water problems right across the parish. And St. James is undergoing quite a bit of drought, especially in the rural parts. But we are suffering from a major problems, because even if we can get water from the Water Commission, then there's a problem with trucks to transport this water. Yes, Councillor Reed, I recognize you.
Mr. Chair, I was actually only supporting
Oh, you were supporting. Yes, he spoke eloquently on your behalf,
And
yes.
it's an ongoing one that we probably at this time really need to find a solution for.
Well,
Because it's always, if it's not the pump, it is about turning off and turning on. It's always a major problem, and the people are suffering.
I will say something.
We might need to buy a truck in this council to truck water. We might need to just do some unusual things to really support these areas. It's the clinic, the school, they have to be closing. And we can't continue like this, Mr. Chair.
I will say this much to you, councillors, that the problems are not unique to St. James. Because I sit at a particular place where I can tell you the water situation right across Jamaica. Because most of the systems that are now in place, some of them is as old as 100 years old. A presentation was made just Tuesday by NWC, and it will take something like $5 billion to get the system, to get 80% of the country with portable water. I'm telling you, yes. Right. So, I mean, you know, it's a big issue, and it is an issue that I know it is getting the highest treatment in terms of funding, because at rural water, we have gotten some $800 million this year. But it is just a drop in the bucket, coming from 100 million last year, and the year before 95. So we have, the government has seen it necessary to allocate this funding to put water, but in truth and in fact, 5 major projects is going to just take up all of that money. So we are in serious problems. What we need to do, as we have been saying, and I think Councillor Magan has moved up a motion, resolution about persons who are constructing new houses should have a capacity of a certain 1,000 gallons of water to harvest rainwater, because that is the way we need to go as a country. Because with climate change, we are not getting the usual heavy rainfall to really charge our aquifers. And as a result of that, 1 month, 6 weeks without any rain, you find out that the water just gone. Areas that could stand up for 3-4 months, even when drought is on, is no longer happening. I was in Blue Hole just 2 weeks ago. And Blue Hole was right down. Barely any water coming out of there. And if you go to other areas, it's the same thing. It's the same thing you see happening. So we need to understand that climate change is real. And as a municipality, we have to take the necessary steps to encourage our citizens. We have embarked on a number of rainwater harvesting at primary schools, because after 2 or 3 days, the tank is empty, and then school have to close it 2 or 3 days again, and then it throws a lot of pressure on us as a local authority to have these tanks replenished. So, I mean, we need to change the discussion as we talk about water, because I don't think we'll have water in abundance as we probably thought we would have had. But it's going to take some serious money to bring it up to that standard. I was in Portland, and as much as Portland is where we have devious rainfall, persons up there still suffer from lack of port of. I went to deal with a matter of which Councillor Truth owe me some money. Yes, I have Councillor Magan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, Water Commission is not here because I have a unique situation which I really need an explanation. My Member of Parliament has put plans in place to effect that we have a better water supply system.
And it is in place. And
yes.
It is in trade.
And for that I'm happy. But I'm a little bit worried though, Mr. Chairman, because the major supply that we have in Somerton was recently, in Canaan, was recently tested and found to have more water than which we previously thought. So I have no electrical problems. I have no pump problems. But yet still...
You have a distribution problem.
But nothing has changed significant.
No,
that I still can't get water in most of my areas.
No, your problem will be solved without most other areas.
That already have pipes, you understand? So
your problem will be solved before most other areas.
I know that, and I'm eagerly anticipating, Mr. Chair, but I'm saying that if NWC don't get them act together, we may right back to where we are now, because there has to be other systematic problems happening why we still can't get water in some of the areas. It just doesn't compute.
Yeah, but let us face certain reality as a municipality. Is that NWC is not prepared to distribute water or distribute what is termed non-revenue water. So where NWC is not earning, they are not prepared to do what needs to be done. And that, when you go into meetings with them, that is what they're saying. That if the area is a non-revenue area, because they have their own, they are the largest user of electricity in Jamaica. So a part of our leadership in our respective divisions in areas where NWC is supplying is to encourage our constituents that there's no free lunch. There's no free lunch. So we have to encourage them that, you know, they have to live up to their obligations. And that is a major, major part of the problem. NWC is not coming to say it. But that is a major, major part of the problem. If you see in certain areas when there's a broken main, look how quick they come and fix it. Because that area is paying their water bills. In other areas, they don't have much interest. Right? They don't have much interest. I agree with you, but there's no person who can call legitimately to say my pipe is burst and we need water. They must say, but we don't have you on our system. What's your name? That person is not on their system. So a part of our own outreach program is to encourage these people to come on, because it costs a lot for electricity. Well, I would agree with you that, Councillor, but that is when water is short. But I mean, it's a big problem we have in Jamaica, and it's going to take some big resources to deal with the water problem in Jamaica. Yes, it is. Street lights within the parish, I heard that the government has cleared off all expenses, and we should be seeing some improvement, which I got some information that they are focusing on the main thoroughfare. So I don't know, is anyone here from JPS, Mr. Mannings? I know you are in touch with them. I know Mr. Kenny Wilkinson is on leave until sometime in June.
Yes, Chairman.
Yes.
Just to, no one from JPS is here today, Chairman, but based on the fact that they typically attend the physical planning meeting, and this was a major topic of discussion, I see it fit to bring to the council as well that the decision of the committee, which they brought about forcefully, is that we need an urgent meeting with the JPSCO to discuss various issues across the parish to do with the repairs of street light, the dangling lines, and broken poles and vegetation that is removed from overhang that is done by JPSCO contractors. So that meeting, Chairman, we are to have arranged in short order.
I'm not sure as a municipality when these vegetations are removed. We are monitoring, and I would recommend that the assistant superintendents who are in charge of various areas, they are to take the necessary steps to monitor these areas that these activities are taking place by JPS, because oftentimes what they have done, they have taken down these trees and they sometimes discard them in a gully or in a way in which it causes vehicular obstruction and sometimes even poses threat, because after a while people tend to light these bushes. So I think that's something that we need to monitor as a municipality. Councillor Magan, you were saying something?
That's true. One of the last meetings we had, we asked our JPS to supply us with some information as to their agreement that they had with the other users of their poles, like cable and wireless and so on. And they haven't paid us that courtesy of replying as yet, which is really troubling because okay, Mr. Chair. Because I have a major thoroughfare, the Adelphi Main Road. I have a JPS post which is actually broken. It's not broken entirely, but you can see where it's bent and it's broken, like something hit it. So I took a picture of it and I sent it to the JPS management to say that this pole will come down any minute now and it's a danger to the thoroughfare. I'd like to just read for you, Mr. Chairman, the response that I got. It is a JPS, this is what they sent me back. It is a JPS pole, yes. However, we don't have any assets on the pole. The wires on the pole belong to Cable and Wireless. We cannot retire the pole until the other utility remove their wires. What we can do now is to cut the pole to a level and submit a request to Cable and Wireless. Thanks for bringing the matter up to our attention. This pole is broken, Mr. Chairman. It's broken nearly all the way through. And they admit ownership, but they can't do anything about it. So their number is affixed to the pole. we need JPS to answer some questions, Mr. Chair. Because this can come down at any minute on traffic or even kids.
JPS, I don't think they should have much excuse at this time. Right? I don't think they should have any. Thank you. Because the $9.3 billion that was owing to them has now been cleared off. And so we should not be having all this problem. We should at least beginning to see some serious activities, especially these poles that are lying all over the place, posing threat. And this idea about, you know, who occupies the pole, and as far as I'm concerned, that is irrelevant to us as a local authority. It is irrelevant to us. It's their poles. So anything that is not conforming, then they should be the one to take the necessary steps to have it regularized or have it regulated in a way in which it doesn't pose a threat to citizens. Well, Councillor Wint?
It's now 1 o'clock, Mr. Chairman. I want to move a motion for the
lunchtime.
remainder of what is on the agenda.
Okay. All in favor? Second it on. Resolution arising from minutes. Mr. Lee, let us just go through all the resolutions. Sir?
Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Chairman,
Those
the
that,
first one I want to look at is the resolution sale of community land.
Yes.
And Mr. Manning from Planning Director will just quickly update us and I'll continue with the rest.
How far are we with that iron short thing now, Mr. Manning?
Yes, Chairman, the funds were paid over. I'm in communication with the attorney and he says that he's awaiting the titles now from NLA, so for them to be sent to us as soon as the matter is completed.
Did they give you a timeline when it will be done?
No, Chair, he didn't give me a timeline, but I will...
So when was the funds paid over?
It was paid over from soon after the last meeting when I reported.
So you would say about 3 weeks ago?
Yes, sir, about 3 weeks ago. And then stamp office signed off on the relevant documents so that they could go back
so
to
we
the
can
national.
come back here next month, May, and hear that
The
the title is now in our possession?
Yes, Chairman.
All right, good.
And then we can move on to the next step to tie up this matter.
All right, okay, good. Mr. Lee, continue on your
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
resolution part.
Resolution for the rewards for committee chairman. I'm still working with the ministry. I've written to them to give me an opinion on the matter. And they have responded wanting some additional documentation which we are in the process of sending to them. So I'm hoping I'll be able to speak more definitively on this at our next committee meeting. Resolution for the Gloucester Avenue. As we know, the renaming ceremony was held, and if there is no other compelling reason why we must keep this on the agenda, I would probably recommend that we remove it, Mr. Chairman. All right. We continue. The resolution applying for the minister to make an order, provisional order for the abandoned cemetery. We're in the process of doing the advertisement. We have started the process, and I think would have gone about a month into the process now. We must advertise this for 3 months, after which we can ask the minister for the provisional order. So,
Have you been getting any feedback, Mr. Lee? Have you been getting any feedback from any concerns?
no, we have not received any feedback as yet. But based on the regulations, is at the expiration of the advertisement, that is when the minister would consider any feedback in making the decision for his order. But I've not heard of any adverse response so far.
So is there anything in the advertisement to say there is a concern complaint where to send that document?
No, the advertisement did not specifically speak of. Yes, it was done on the umbrella of Minister of Corporation. It would come to us, and then we would forward it to the minister for his consideration when he's making the provisional order. All right, so that is ongoing. The renaming ceremony to be done, that is for the rename Sunset Boulevard to Godfrey G. Dwyer Boulevard. That has been gazetted, and so it is for us now to do the renaming ceremony. That is where we are. All right. 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 All right.
The sidewalk, Mr. Chairman, the actual casting of the sidewalk is now completed. It's just the decoration stones, cobblestones, that are now being installed in the slots.
Yes. All right, thank you. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, at the completion of that renovation or upgrade in program, I am expecting that we would have the renaming ceremony.
Yes, we can do that at the end of that activities. Anything else, Mr. Lee?
We're still awaiting the response from the ministry with respect to Southern Crest Boulevard. There's some additional information that they needed.
So have we sent off those information? Because it has been going quite a while now.
Yes, it has been quite a while. To be honest, Mr. Chairman, I know that the SUP and I had a discussion, and if we were having a little problem in terms of satisfying the requirement, because what they were saying is that they needed the landmark that was used in describing the road was not a permanent landmark, and therefore they could not use it. There was mention about the hotel and they wanted to know where the road intersects. But my understanding is that the road basically runs to the end of a peninsula.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that is it.
And therefore, it didn't intersect with any particular road. It would intersect with the sea, if we're going to look at it that way. But there's additional land at the end of the road. So there was something that needed to be worked out. The SUP was supposed to have discussion with them to see how best we could resolve that issue.
So you are saying that...
Yes, I can't report now whether or not all the discussions were concluded and whether or not they were satisfied with what the SUP has said to them.
All right.
But I will update you at our next meeting, Mr. Chairman. But I know we were actively working with the ministry to see if we could satisfy the conditions. Okay, and resolution for the renaming of the Quebec. Again, that one was gazetted. And the renaming ceremony is to be arranged.
But that's a small one.
Yes.
There's no encumbrance on that one. Why not let us proceed?
We should be able to proceed with that one, Mr. Chairman. All right.
Mr. Tingling, speak to the Secretary of Management so we can initiate that renaming, please. Right, let us
all right, where the funding for the refurbishment of the Mafuta Community Center, we're still awaiting some response from the ministry on that. And final resolution for the renaming of the road leading to the community of Barrytown. We are awaiting again the response from the ministry on that one. The resolution was sent to the MLG and we are awaiting their response. Right, so those are the active resolutions, and we will continue to monitor them, Mr. Chairman.
So is there any resolution from any other municipality?
No, that would take on the agenda on the resolutions, Mr. Chairman. Oh, Mr. Chairman, the impact fee resolution accounts inquired about it. Yes, it is there. I reported at the last meeting that the ministry is in the process of reorganizing all the municipal fees to ensure that they are equal. They are kind of what's the word? Standardizing, that's the word I'm looking for. They are trying to standardize all the fees and so that all the municipality will have the same fees. We are now working with them. When it comes to the impact fee, it is on the agenda, but they were having some issues, some legal issues, they're saying, issues of where the regulations that they would use to benchmark these fees, and that was not yet sorted out. So they recommend that we do not move ahead with the impact fees until they work out the legal framework that they would use to benchmark these fees. So that was not done yet, but it is under consideration as we go forward in the process of standardizing all the building fees and other fees associated with development.
And also, Mr. Chairman, read the resolution for school safety zones.
Well, yes, the resolution for school safe zone is a comprehensive resolution. This has been sent to all the various, it impacts several ministries. So we're sending them to the different ministries to get their response. Thereafter, we will have to look, because a part of it must be actioned by the local authority. If you look at it, I call for us to do certain things. So as soon as we get the response, then it is this municipal corporation that may have to actually sit and decide how we are going to action aspect of that resolution. So it is being looked at. It is multifaceted. It is wide. Education, job creation, municipal corporation, local government ministry. It has something that relates to nearly every ministry. So it's very wide, and we are working on it.
You just say hi?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I believe the CEO has updated us on the resolutions that he has new updates for.
Yes.
And not all the resolutions.
Right.
All right. I also think, Mr. Chairman, that in certain aspects of the resolutions that we have submitted, we are trying to, and I said it before, I'm going to say it again. I think we are going down the wrong direction in terms of getting some of these resolutions action. Because we can, as a council, sit down and put things together and create the documents and send it to the relevant authorities for them to review it.
Yes.
But when we send these resolutions and ask for it to be forwarded to the different municipal corporations and for it to be sent to ministry, we're not going to go anywhere now. We're not going to get anywhere with it, because the CEO has just said it is multifaceted. And we only sent it to Ministry of what? Local government and community development. Local government is not going to send it to the various ministries for it to be sorted and then send it back. Because they have so many things dealing with. And I made mention earlier, this year, for one such road cutting permit to be looked at. And Mr. Lee is supposed to call a meeting with the relevant persons for us to look at that. Now, I'm also saying further that we are concerned. I was having a discussion some time ago that as a subcommittee of what's the committee's name again? First Monday. Strategic planning. You should have a policy or regulations committee or something of the sort, where we forward these resolutions to. And at that meeting, we look at the resolutions that have been discussed or passed in council meeting. We get the legal minds together. We get the relevant persons together. If it is something that has to do with commercial services, we have the director there. If it is something that has to do with planning, we have the planning director there with the soup and you name it. But we have the legal persons there, and then we put the policy document together. We put the regulation together, we put the bylaw together, we send it back here, we look at it at the council meeting, and then we send it to the ministry for them to look at that document, then advise us as to whether we can go forward so it can be gazetted or not. But if we continue to send resolutions all over the place, we're not going to reach anywhere. I don't believe so. We're not going to reach anywhere. So even with the school safety zone, if that was a resolution sent to this particular committee to be looked at, then you pull all the different agencies together in that committee, because you know that you will need them in that committee, right? We put that document together, bring it back here so we can all look at it, and then we send it to ministry for them to review it. So I'm recommending, Mr. Chairman, that the Strategic Planning Committee puts a regulation or policy framework committee together to deal with these resolutions, because they are multifaceted.
The resolution that we are seeking, it covers a wide area and it intersects with various other government arms. Like, for example, school safety zone. You have NWA, you have the Municipal Corporation, you have the Ministry of Education. So in some sense it can work if it's something within the city to do. But like, for example, the school safety zone, that has to take in a number of other government agencies. Right? And this is why sometimes when we do resolution, we seek the support of other municipalities, because they themselves are having a similar problem. So if we can be seen as in unison with a particular subject, then I think that the matter will be given more credence. Because, for example, look at family court, look at municipal court that we have been trying to put together for the longest while. Some of these resolutions that we are seeking to do, they need legislative changes from our own parliament. So, there are some things that we can do, but there are, when we are embarking on some of these areas that has already been established in statute, we can't just go ahead and just change them like that. It has to be supported by the necessary legal review team. Right. And that is what we don't have at this council. So this is why Mr. Lee, as the CEO, when those resolutions come before him, he has to get his advice from the Ministry of Local Government. So we can't, I don't think we have the capacity to do some of what you are suggesting, because we don't have a legal department. And, lawyers are not going to be working pro bono in that way. Because it's a lot, things like those there's a lot of research that is required to be done to get these things up to legal scrutiny. So we have to, a lot of things we would love to do, but because of the legislative framework and what you can come up against, we seek the advice from the ministry, because they themselves have a legal department, which I personally think that they are overwhelmed.
Definitely.
And this is why the New Building Act can direct us in some new areas. But I'm not sure that, we all haven't received it as yet. But I think that it is something that we need to have a retreat, if you ask me. I have a copy of it, which is like about 1.5 inches thick. Huh?
They want this retreat, Mr. Chairman.
They want the retreat?
Yes.
Oh, they like it. Right? I think we should have a retreat and go through that New Building Act, chapter by chapter, that we can have because based on my understanding, I haven't gone through it in any details, But I heard that a number of the things that we are seeking to capture, the new Building Act can deal with that. A number of what we are doing now, there's a much easier way to do it through the new Building Act. But the CEO himself don't know much about it. The superintendent don't know much about it. I heard that there's a seminar to be here tomorrow, 3-4 hours. In my opinion, we're all laymen. We won't know much about it. Right? We won't know much about it because we weren't trained to interpret the law in that detailed way. So I think, and I've been saying it to Mr. Lee, that we need to have a day or 2 days retreat, seminar, where we all go and have some legal person go through the thing with us, that we can know exactly how to proceed.
And I would go further to say, Mr. Chairman, not only the Building Act, but the Local Government Act.
I would agree with you.
Because,
I would agree with you.
Because we have that bubble to operate in, you know. We have that bubble to operate.
I am in full agreement, Councillor Bernard.
So,
and
if
probably
we don't,
that's
if we
one
don't
of
get
the
a
matters
legal
that we need to discuss in our own caucus.
Yeah, but if we don't get a legal department to help with all these things that we want to implement, we need to at least have a committee where a legal person or 2 legal persons sits in on the meeting to advise us how we move forward with these resolutions. So they can interpret it for us and so we can get some action. So Montego Bay can be a Republic of Montego Bay because we have our own laws and regulations down here, different from the other corporations and municipalities. We are going to lead, Mr. Chairman, from
you
the
soon
front.
be asking for an annexation. Yes, Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the seriousness of my resolution, I don't want it to be lost in terms of committees and sending to ministries, because I honestly believe that that resolution is geared towards assisting our future leaders. So while Mr. Lee said that it has to go to the ministries, and my colleague, friend here, councillor, wants a committee to take a look at these resolutions, and he mentioned mine in particular, what I would ask my fellow councillors to do in the meantime is to support the resolution. You have the power of the media. Hold on, man. You have the, hold on, sir. Didn't I sit quietly while you spoke? Right. So what I'm asking my fellow councillors to do is that you have the media, you have the platforms, right? Send out letters to the different ministries supporting the resolution, write the different media outlets, the social media outlets, and support the resolution, because until it comes into effect, what is happening that our young and so on are still vulnerable while we deliberate as to how to get it done. So instead of talking about the community, which, yeah, fine, a committee, that's fine, but in the meantime, to ensure that the seriousness of the resolution, as it was stated, it gets noticed, I ask my fellow councillors to support it in whichever way that they can.
No, I think the resolution was supported, but what you're asking, it will need some legislative framework. I remember some times ago, there was a no parking sign along St. James Street. The sign wasn't gazetted. And one smart motorist decided to go, he was prosecuted. Right? And he took the matter up, and they couldn't find no gazette to show that it was gazetted. So he could not be prosecuted, and no other motorist could be prosecuted for there. So we have to make sure that whatever we are doing, it have the supporting legislative framework. Right? So I mean, your resolution, as a matter of fact, I saw a commentary on it recently in one of the daily newspaper about school safety zone, which is something that I support, because I think that at schools there shouldn't be certain activities, especially at government schools, within a certain radius. So, I mean, there's no doubt that you will get support for that resolution, but it has to be done in a way in which it is conforming to the laws. So let us proceed, Mr. Lee, as you know best. Yes. Mrs. Lee?
Sitting and listening to Mr. Lee who run out is that I really don't want to hope that to affect real and meaningful change, the process is really so long. But as we discuss the Building Act and the Local Government Act, I think one we should bring in the mix, Mr. Chairman, that is very important is the occupational health and safety standards here within the parish. And it has to do with not just functioning and people carrying out their daily activities and the standards that needs to be maintained, but also within buildings that operate, especially for public usage.
But is that a new matter?
No, I'm following up on the discussion regarding the acts
That
and
sounds like
standards.
a new matter. Why don't you bring it as a resolution? Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, let us consider that
No, but just
make sure it
just
is
bring it as a resolution, no?
intertwined. Mr. Chairman, these guys' memories are short, you know, so if we discuss it in new matters, then forget it. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Hold on.
We are now on to Mayor's announcement. Don't really have much to. Recently, I was some 2,500 shopping bags, councillors. Recently, some 2,500 shopping bags were sent here at the St. James Municipal Corporation. They were donated by Campari. 2,500. I intend to give each division a box with 100 each. So that is 1,700. Yes. 70. Huh? Sir? No, and this is why, I mean, okay, all right. Okay, good. So at the end of this meeting, each councillor will get a box with these bags, and I want you to distribute it in a way in which it doesn't become a political issue. So you can think of a way in which, you know, best to distribute it. It's 100, it's not a lot. I intend to give the St. James Municipal Corporation 2 boxes that they can distribute it to the persons who come here to do business. Like, for example, somebody come to pay a bill or do something, we can pay them a courtesy and give them a bag. Right? I intend to do some distribution myself, like possible at the Charles Garden Market, where we could go down there on a Saturday morning and give it to the housewives. And whatever way we can do the distribution, please let us do it in a way in which it reaches everybody. All right, so we have the boxes there, some 2,500. So, but the color is your favorite color, Mr. Thomas. They're all red, Campari. Also, yes. Also, we have a correspondence to say that some activities will be taking place as it relates to our Barney Street Fire Station. That will be on the 25th. I'm not sure if a groundbreaking ceremony is slated for that day, but we are anxiously awaiting to see the commencement of that structure. It has been long in coming, but I think we are getting closer and closer. Councillors have received some $500,000 each to carry out dengue mitigation activities across their respective divisions. I'm not sure how the disbursement of that funds is going. Superintendent, can you say if all councillors have submitted a program, or if our programs has been submitted? The dengue mitigation program.
Mr. Chairman, not.
Can you, if you don't have it, can
not
I?
all councillors have submitted a program.
Some councillors.
Some councillors.
Well, let me see who doesn't, and let me see what is happening, because this has been allocated to the 17 division, some 500,000 each. We're talking about $8.5 million. Division Councillor Thomas?
Yes, I'm fully aware.
You're fully aware. Have you submitted your program?
Yes, I've submitted.
You have submitted your program. Okay. Councillors, it's now the season, and season of Easter, and it is a commemoration of the resurrection, well, the crucifixion and the resurrection. Right? And I think there will be a church service. There will be a church service? Okay. Huh? Oh, Labor Day church service. Okay, yes. So let us use this occasion to reach out to some of our constituents in terms of, let them eat some bun and cheese. An issue that has been creating some level of anxiety, a publication that was published in the Western Mirror. It has to do with persons who are occupying boglands in Montego Bay, St. James, that they are being asked to get in touch with the accounts department at the St. James Municipal Corporation immediately to settle outstanding balance on their account. We have some 26 such persons owing a total of close to $70 million. We have published their names, and it is in the Western Mirror, because we need this money to do the infrastructure development, because a part of the condition is for us to develop the property in a way in which we can dispose of the property. And we can't have them there owing from $724,000 to a high of $5.5 million. And it's quite a sizable amount of money. And most of them really about buildings on those lands that they are renting out. So based on my own investigation, most of them, if not all, should be able to can pay this money. Right? Their names are published in the papers. A few of them have been called in the municipality to find out what can they do. Well, I said to those who call me, just look at the total and come and pay it. Just look at the total and come and pay it. And I reminded them of the government guidelines as it relates to disposing of government properties, that you must be in good standing. And when government speak about good standing, it's not about how old are you. It's that your finances must be up to date. Right? And there are still persons out there who think they can get these lands for nothing. Well, I don't think it reach too far for them to even contemplate getting it for nothing. Exactly, and the contractor general said that it must be sold at current market value. So, Mr. Lee, I would like for those persons who are calling you to invite them in and have a discussion with them and tell them exactly what we are looking at. We are looking at the outstanding balance, and that is what we need. And we are going to be using this when that time comes, you know. Right? I'll tell them to bring the checkbook. Yes, all right, good. So that would end my whole mayor's announcement. Can I now have a motion moving to the local board of health? Moved by Councillor Sinclair. All in favor? Second. Local board of health, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the sitting of the Public Health Committee, we had presented barbers, hairdressers, beauty therapists, and they all satisfied the requirement of the public health, and they are therefore here for the approval of the local board of health. So we had 5 barbers, we had 1 barber shop, we had 4 beauty therapists, renewal of therapists, we had 44. We had barber salon renewal. That figure is 16. So those are the different entities and persons who have applied, and therefore we...
As the law states?
Yeah, they have all fulfilled the requirements.
Okay, can I have a motion, Councillor Cook, seconded by Councillor Reid, all in favor? I am now prepared to accept a report from the Public Health Department as it relates to mosquito control within the parish, rodent vector control.
Afternoon, everybody. Chairman, as far as dengue program is concerned in the parish, when the minister had announced that the country was on a dengue alert on the 4th of January, all parishes, to include this one, was mobilized. We received 28 million, where we would have mobilized persons, employed 60 additional persons that will cover the parish of St. James. The program ended on the 22nd of March. And if you measure success by statistics, the parish would have been successful in reducing the infestation levels by less than 50%. We are, however, not in a comfort zone because we are not out of that area as far as dengue is concerned. And what it shows us that when we have an increase in the amount of human capital that would have employed, it is easier to cover the parish in a quicker way and much more effective. We have a cadre currently of just 11 persons that are employed to that department. So to maintain the gains that we would have made over that period of time, then we would have need to re-employ some more persons. Alas, we do not have the funds to do so. There is a budgeted program that will start in June. So I want to correct the minutes, where the officer would have mentioned that the program would have rolled over until the end of June, the beginning of June. That is not so. That program has ended, and we have a budgeted program that will begin in June, and that will run to October. We ask that persons be advised to take the precautionary measures as would have been advertised over time, and to work with solid waste as best as possible. I sat here and heard the report, but we want to remind persons who, and officers that are here, the councillors, to remind these residents that it is only the collection and transportation of refuse to the dump, that is a government responsibility. The rest, storage of garbage and property, is an individual responsibility. We know that we, as Jamaicans, we hoard. So if you buy 2 tins of paint to paint your house, you need the paint tin to do something else. But whilst they are around the house, they catch water and they breed mosquitoes. So it is a constant effort of education. Out of those monies, we will continue the education in the different areas to ensure that the message is continuously being sent outside of the program. We have a situation in the 7 tire shops that we would have had in the parish. That is a source of concern as well. Whilst we ask them to house them in a particular way, because you know that sometimes you drop off your tire, it is used to sell a taxi man or somebody else. So we ask that they be stored in a particular way so that it does not catch water and turn as a breeding site for mosquitoes. What we would have started as well as a tire program, 5 schools in each of the health districts, and we have 5, that we would have selected them to get these tires and to farm a garden. And they will plant crops in there to support their own school feeding program. The seedlings would have been given by 4-H and RADA. So we're trying to assist in using these tires for good use so that at least we don't have an increase in breeding. We know that we are coming on to the hurricane season, and the rainfall that you would have seen would have been increased as well. It will mean that we will try to our best to mitigate the fallout as far as mosquito breeding is concerned.
We have gotten a sizable sum of money. I am wondering how we can collectively partner with the public health department, where possible each councillor could allocate a particular sum of money. You would do the training of the persons who we would like to do the education program and some of the preventative measures. I'm wondering if we could, we could work on something like that. So say, for example, I am going to spend $300,000 to assist in my area in particular. If you would be, or you and your staff would be willing to train, say, for example, 15 persons who we would now send out into the division to do an education and, a vector control type program that would be fitting in your way of how you do your things. Because we might have persons going out there, but without the requisite knowledge of how to deal with certain matters, we might just be wasting money. So I don't know if the other councillors, how they would view this idea, if they would want to partner with you. I know Councillor Vernon had mentioned something like that some time ago, and I think I've seen him with some persons on social media. But I'm saying that that is a way in which, because honestly, I mean, I have my allocation. I haven't really spent it as yet, because I'm still not certain which is the best way, whether to clean Two Gully or do an education program or something to that. But I want to know that whatever I'm doing, it falls in line with what the public health department does. Can you?
Chairman, I am in full agreement with that. Because during last month, we would have gotten the reverse. We would have trained some workers, and in a program, you can't just especially use persons going into people's premises without properly branded, without IDs. We have gotten more calls from the police and persons since that. I won't name the division, but we are asking at least, I can't tell councillors where to, or through which organization that those monies be spent. We would have trained those persons. We would have gotten communication with Councillor Vernon and another councillor. Member of Parliament for Northwest and West Central St. James. I would encourage the councillors to do like you would have just said. We will train those staff. We will assist in branding. We can purchase the T-shirts from them or give you the IDs because we'll have to pay for them.
Yeah, well, we could buy the,
right.
Buy some
what
T-shirts
we would want
also.
is that for this program to be properly done so that when some person knock on your gate and say you're here from whatever, person does not call the police or the health department to say these persons, because they would have done so. And I told him no. I told him no. So person, we can't, at the health department either, have somebody come and pick up 500 brochures because we are here to deliver, to educate. But if you are going to use it to go into somebody's yard, they are not going to have you, and they are going to call the health department, and they have been doing that.
And this is why I'm wondering how we could partner as a municipality with the resources that we have and to have a proper education program done, because I don't think I have the legitimacy to run off some flyers and give to people like that. I would like whatever I'm doing is something that is endorsed by the municipal, the public health department. I could buy the 20 or 25 T-shirts and have them branded so that when they go out there, they can go representing public health and the municipal corporation because they have the necessary training. And that is something that I'm looking at.
It can be done, Chairman, and we are available to train those workers and to have them in the field to represent this council and the Ministry of Health.
All right, okay, good.
As far as rodent control program in the parish is concerned, we are in a bad state. Exactly, sir. Exactly. We are in a bad state. And I am happy for the collaboration with solid waste that we would have educate these business establishments. What I would have loved to see, as I mentioned at the meeting, was the Chamber of Commerce to come on board in a positive way. Because the business, and I can say categorically, that are causing the problem in the city are these business places. We would have closed a couple yesterday, some others last week, and it is a trend that we do not want to do that. But we would have carried out the education program. But as far as doing things differently, we are not getting there with our businesses. So we would have asked those members to speak with these businesses, especially in the city.
What sanction do you think? Like someone who is not complying, what sanction do you think we can?
We close them every single day. We prosecute. In fact, yesterday, I think from a property here and Market Street, we took out nearly $700,000 worth of goods from that property. So we are doing what we are supposed to do, but we would have prepared that the program of education and compliance, and it is something that we would have liked the business community to speak with each other, because once you would have sent, it takes 2 minutes to send a budget anywhere. But I don't believe that the government resources alone should be placed in these areas where you have businesses and they are not contributing.
I agree.
We speak of solid waste that would have gone to a business to collect. We want a revisit and the amount of refuse that each business generates during the day. Because you pick up this morning and 8 o'clock in front of that business is full. So we want a revisit to see if it means that they have to pay to come back 2 times for the day, like they would have been done in Mount Salem, then that has to happen, because the garbage people are expanding these businesses, but the garbage area is not being expanded. So you have the refuse that is on the floor and serve as harborage for rodents in this parish.
I'm really saddened that, we have not seen, any serious compliance, because we have been reaching out to them. And that is why we had initiated that discussion with the restaurant operators to say, come on board with us. Because soon and very soon, they themselves cannot even operate their restaurant. Right? Soon and very soon, they can't operate their restaurant because they will come under some serious pressure. Right? And I don't think our people are really complying. They are looking at, what they can make from their investment. They are not looking at the flip side and say what can happen if they are not complying with best practices. And so I am appealing to the business community in St. James, because it has been happening right across the parish, where persons operate various different types of business establishment, and especially things that they have to dump, which can be very enticing to rodents. It is not being properly cauterized, so the rodent can't have a field day in them. So, this is an appeal to business operators that a great part of the problems that we're having within the city and in the rural townships is because of bad disposal practices by business places. So I would make this appeal to tell them that, let us, if they want their community to be in a pristine condition and want the place to smell good, then they themselves have an obligation to work with the National Solid Waste Management Authority to have their garbage properly cauterized or containerized for it to be transported to the dump in a way in which it don't create any problems to other people. Because that's what it does. It creates problem to other people. We can't have a city and you clean the city this morning and by 2 o'clock, everything is spilling all over on the road and, stuff like that. And our people, the people who buy from these establishments, they themselves have a responsibility also to dispose of their styrofoam boxes and or the other boxes that they use in a way in which it doesn't become a breeding ground for rodents. Thank you very much. Any question for the public health, Chief Public Health Officer?
We're not completed.
Oh, you're not? No. We have the report from the yeah.
Sir Chairman.
Yes.
I just want to ask a question. I think it was something pertaining to now. Well, my question, I heard the comments on the dengue, and I also heard the comments on the rodent. And it caused me to reflect on the sum of money. I think a program was done in respect to dengue, I said $28 million, right? And the rodent program, which I think was, there had some painting that was done, funding was provided through TEF, and I think the Municipal Corporation assisted with some funding. And the reports that had come back when that was done was that there was a reduction, an abatement of the situation. But a while ago, we are hearing that the rodent situation is bad. We are hearing that $28 million is expended on dengue, and the reduction of breeding sites, which is the most critical thing, reduction of breeding sites. And it was reported that the statistics in St. James show that if you are using that to measure success, that St. James will be better off than some other parishes. Where is the sustainability of it? And that is the question that I want to ask. So that you may have heightened it in respect to numbers, where you got up to 60 persons engaged, and it reduced back now to it's reduced to the 11 or thereabout, which is the core employment. You look on the rodents, rodent situation. Reduction, but it gone back up. It's as if we do things in spurts that require a large sum of money, and then after that everything just settle off, everything good. It's like the crime. You have a state of emergency, and then everything is at a more acceptable level. And then when you look around now, because during the SOE, I used to see khaki suit police officers on the road giving direction to the junior officers. I don't see them again. So it causes me to ask a question. Why do we not sustain the thing? So the 11 persons, since you have reduced it to an acceptable level, but they go around still on a day-to-day basis, so they're not going to cover the whole or all the places. But in the $28 million program, you would have identified critical areas. So even if you're going to give the attention to the critical areas, so that there's a pass-through, whether it is in Flankers, whether it is in Norwood, you go there on a regular basis, and if persons are not adhering until people get into the habit of adhering. But when you do it today and then you don't do it until next year, people forget. People don't develop the practice. The rodent situation, same thing. There must be continuity, and it does not have to be the public health alone going to do whatever. The municipal police, when they're out there on the road, if it's a joined up activity, they must see these things. If they have to call public health, they call public health. Solid waste, they have people in the town who have to go into these commercial areas for the purpose of collecting the contract sums, and they do it regularly. If they're collecting officer, they take something that's not right, then they don't call the relevant person. But they just go in there. Oh, my purpose here today is just for the purpose of collecting the revenue for the collection of the garbage. And that is it. I suspect. The municipal police, oh Lord, I won't say, but I suspect, because I won't say. But how can we get this thing that it is sustained constantly, so that you don't have to have these large crisis situations and this large requirement for expenditure of funds, and that you ensure that people develop an attitude by the constant reminders that happens? That is a question that I want to ask, having heard the report.
Chairman, the Senator's questions are valid, but what is glaring is that I've been in this business for 27 years. The cadre of staff at the Vector Control Unit, that I would have come and saw that differently. However, what we would have had, this meeting can state the number of communities that would have increased since then, the number of businesses that would have increased since then. It goes without saying that to cover, we had ZigV, ChickV, and now this. We would have had the same amount of persons put in these programs. What we would have seen is success in all three programs. It goes without saying that the current number of staff in that area needs to be increased. Needs to be increased to cover the area more effectively and to disrupt the cycle of the mosquito. As far as the rodent control program is concerned,
Chairman. Senator, the program that you mentioned with TF was not this year. We would have sent a program to them now and waiting. Yes, but what we need to do, whether we continue the inspections, the education from the food handling training to revisits, practices does not change overnight. Does not. So we go, we educate, we do these things, we close, we prosecute. So until the habits change. And there are certain things that we need to do differently. Here, in this facility, that things that we are discussing outside of this council. Because as far as we can't have an unlimited number of vendors, it is just not going to work. Just like we can't have an unlimited number of motor cars. So if we might need to zone these persons. You understand? We would have gone into Freeport, and what was creating havoc, we would have moved them. But the zoning of these vendors is something that we need to look at. Are they near to a facility that they can wash hands, do this? Because guess what? On a Monday morning, you come to the health department, some of the parties that you would have had, this, that, you get the food poisoning, you get this, you get that. You understand? So there's need sometime to look at other ways of facilitating some of these businesses to ensure that we maintain at least minimum public health standards.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, councillors, members of other agencies, the media. I just want to, I've been listening to the discussion, it's been very interesting, and I just wanted to add a few things. With regards to dengue, you know, the outbreak would have been declared in January. We are still not, even though we're tapering down in terms of numbers of notifications. To date, we would have had a total of 261 notifications, and this would include suspected cases. And over the last few weeks, we have been seeing a decrease in numbers, but still we're not out of the outbreak as yet. An important part of the program would have been the Enhanced Vector Control Program, which Mr. Wallace would have mentioned, have ended on the 22nd of March, which would have included vector control activities as well as significant portion of health education. So while we have gotten 261 notifications, I think we'd have highlighted this before, that you would have had individuals who would not necessarily have sought medical attention, or not all of these cases would have been notified. Dengue is endemic to Jamaica, so we do have cases every year, but in this case we would have been going through an outbreak. So in terms of the numbers, we're seeing decrease in numbers, but the outbreak has still not been declared as over. So we'll see. We'll get further notification from the ministry, and of course we will be advised when we have gone through the outbreak. Another thing that has been, we would have seen an increase in terms of numbers would have been our influenza cases. We would have, we are going towards the end of the flu season, but we've had an active season so far. The influenza vaccine would have been made available since October. And so especially, and I know the advisory would have gone on for persons to access the vaccines. At our facilities, we have the vaccine available, and so we would have targeted especially, and the information would have gone out to the members who would consider vulnerable, particularly to the flu, which would have included their children, pregnant women, persons with chronic diseases, especially over the age of 60. And but it's available to everyone, anyone who wants to get the vaccine. It's not mandatory, but it is strongly advised, and so you can visit any one of our facilities to get the vaccine. Just to in terms of to assist in the situation, I know councillors in terms of when you're talking, when you're meeting with the members of your division, just to remind them and remind everyone in terms of good sanitary practices to decrease transmission, frequent hand washing, I mean when there's coughing just to cover the mouth, etc. And just to remember that in terms of it's quite contagious. In addition to all of that, we continue our monitoring of the non-communicable diseases. So we have launched our Jamaica Moves initiative in schools, and the ministry would have moved towards the banning of sugar sweet beverages in schools in terms of trying to, make an active move towards trying to decrease our incident of chronic illnesses. Just to say as well, in terms of our healthcare delivery is going on in our 22 health centers, and just to add that for the Green Pond Health Center, I know the ministry would have launched Adopter Clinic. Mount Carey was adopted. Plans are in progress for the adoption of the Green Pond Health Center by the Atlanta Montego Bay Sister Cities Committee. So we'll give further updates as that is available. This month, the month of April is cervical cancer awareness month, and so just a reminder of those important events. We just want to say overall, I know the councils, as a municipal corporation, you've been working with us closely. We do appreciate your assistance in whatever way you can. And in terms of if you find that there are any issues that we can help to address in order to continue to improve our general public health, please let us know. Any questions?
Sorry, municipal matters.
Read the resolution renaming of the road. The National Works Agency is advising that the ownership of the road actually reside with the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. However, they are saying the National Works Agency has no objection to the renaming of the road as Edmund Bartley Boulevard. Also, the resolution, Mr. Chairman, having to do with the resident on the coast of the North Gully, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, they have written acknowledging the resolution, and they are advising that a fulsome response to this matter will follow as in the soonest possible time. So basically there are some response coming from resolution that we had passed earlier. They are late in coming. Nonetheless, I'm still presenting them here for the record. And before we continue, Mr. Chairman, I have no other matter, so may we entertain a motion to accept all the
Motion to accept
municipal. Okay. All right, resolutions.
But there's one observation.
Yes.
I would like to make. It's from the poor leaf department.
Yes.
And I don't know how many of you folks yes, for publishing this magazine, and I think it was a very, very good job. Very good job, and you know, I can see why Councillor Cummings is so dedicated to his responsibility as the chairman of the Poor Relief Committee. And he has really put, I don't know how many of you have seen it, but it's really an impressive little magazine. And I think that this could do well in the archives of the St. James Municipal Corporation. So once again, thank you very much, the team from Poor Relief. Yes, yes, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any, I have no new resolution, but if you'd allow me just to make a point on the, all right. Earlier we were discussing the matter of resolution, and Councillor from the, what division is that now? Montego Bay South mentioned that, you know, the MC need to look at setting up some kind of body to, as it were, work, doing the preparatory work for some of these resolutions. Councillor from the Southern Somerton Division, Somerton Division mentioned earlier a resolution for the school zone, establishing safety zone. I have a copy of resolution here in my hands. And Mr. Chairman, whereas the resolution has a lot of whereas, the resolve, it has just two resolve at the end. I mean, it talks about a lot in the preamble, but what it's asking is, be it resolved that the St. James Municipal Corporation work with parents, teachers, students, law enforcement, other appropriate agencies, and their school to provide traffic, pedestrian safety for children and to identify and improve where necessary. So it's a municipal corporation is calling on to do all of this, to work with all of these agencies. And the second resolve is also that the St. James Municipal Corporation urge elective officers, who I presume would be other councillors, and other policymakers to support the local and national effort to reduce traffic and pedestrian safety problems, and to increase motorist and pedestrian awareness by using the latest technological improvement in signs, crosswalk designs, pavement markings, and traffic control devices. So both of the resolve in this resolution, apart from the fact that it asks in the end that legislation be enacted at the local level, which again is here, and at the national level. So I think most of the work in this resolution must be started in this municipal corporation. Right? So I'm saying it supports the point that in order for us to move forward with some of these resolutions, we really need to have a body, an internal body that can flesh out what needs to be done, because this one would call for some kind of committee to get all of those agencies together and start the discussion. And so it means in order for us to move forward, we can't really send this anywhere and expect that we're going to get any action. So we will really have to sit down as a municipal corporation, bring the parties together and start to work on this resolution before we really can move forward. So it is important that, yes, maybe the strategic planning committee may have to start the discussion, or if necessary, out of that committee, we may have to have some subcommittee to do some of these legal work. And hence, you know, it is something that I support, Mr. Chairman, that we will have to look into, maybe at our next strategic planning committee, to see how we can start some action on some of these resolutions, similar to this, that calls on the local authority to do certain things. Yes, the Local Governance Act gives us the power to make resolutions, to make bylaws and so on, to make laws and bylaws to govern our city. And so we have far-reaching power that we can use to enact some of these new laws and regulations. It's just that we have to get as you were mentioning, Mr. Chairman, we may need the legal assistance in terms of being able to draft some of these things. We need the language, which we are not familiar with, and there are certain styles and provisions that must be adhered to in drafting some of these legislation. But at least we need to start with a committee, and then we draw from outside to see how well we can get the support so we can enact some of these legislation resolutions.
Mr. Chairman.
You want to go before?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, understanding what Mr. Lee just said, what the CEO just said, but simple things like the parochial roads that are our purview, like painting a pedestrian crossing, put up a school sign, a slow sign, that is low-hanging fruit.
But do you have a problem with that now?
No, but I mean, we can't do that.
No, but we don't have a problem with that now.
What?
I don't think we have a problem with that
So I
now.
don't know why we need to go to a committee for those.
No, but
aspects
there are other things. I guess
Yeah,
the
so let us
CEO
do the ones we
is
can do
looking at
first.
it in a holistic way. But I mean, if I want a pedestrian cross, but you know the thing about it is that these these pedestrian crossings, you know, even though we do them, you know, they are supposed to be gazetted. This is what I'm saying to you. They're supposed to be gazetted, Councillor.
A slow sign, a school sign.
Sign. They are supposed to be. It's not a private property, you know. It is in a public place, and the public must know what are their obligations. So, I mean, what Mr. Lee has suggested, I don't think it's that difficult to bring that party together, those persons together. It shouldn't be a difficult affair.
Understood.
Yes, I don't think.
But on the roads, like at Carnal, yes, one down here, where those pedestrian crossings are already in place.
Yes.
We can repeat it, right?
But we have done that last September.
That is how the resolution is stating that what is already in place to ensure it's there.
But Councillor, the new school year in January, the superintendent painted most of them. They painted most of them, yes.
I'm not saying it has been done, but I'm saying the ones that are there. Like summertime, Dumfries primary. It's already
No, but remember, you know, your result.
ones that we are within our grasp. Let us do it.
But Councillor, if I am to look at your resolution, it seeks to broaden these areas, you know. That's what it does, you know. It seeks to broaden these areas. So you'll have to have silent zones. Yes, you have to have silent zone. You have to have a number of other signs that will have to come under the scrutiny of statute.
Understood, sir.
Yes.
But all I'm saying is that the ones that we can do are the things we can do. Let's do it.
If I may just add that there's a parish traffic committee that is responsible for these pedestrian crosses and other kind of road markings and signs. The superintendent of Roads and Works sits on that committee along with National Works Agency and NWA, right? Yes, the National Works Agency. So at that committee, decision of that matter can be taken in terms of putting in new pedestrian crossing and stop signs on school zones, safety zone, and so on. It goes through that committee, and once that committee approves, then there's a process that they will have to follow. But that is where such decision originates. And so it is for us now to work with that committee to ensure that some of these things that we're talking about can be actually actioned. You know, that's just for information.
Is there any notice?
settlement of communities. That notice has been on the paper for over 3 months, and therefore, if it's here today, we can take it. Otherwise, we'll have to remove it. Move it.
New matters? This meeting now stands adjourned, 2:20 p.m.